I was making coffee when my phone buzzed. A video message from Mrs. Lanford, old neighbor. I hadn't heard from her in years. Just seeing her name on the screen pulled buried memories to the surface like ghosts rising through floorboards. The message was brief. No greeting, no explanation. Just one chilling line. "I'm so sorry about your parents. I can't believe what I saw today." My stomach clenched. I opened the video. It was a church, Albans. The same place my parents used to drag me for Christmas Eve services when I was a kid. The nave looked exactly the same, lit by soft stained glass and grief. The camera panned toward the podium. Two figures stood there. My parents. My mother in black lace and pearls, dabbing delicately at dry eyes. My father beside her, solemn and trembling, reading from a paper. Behind them, a casket. And next to it my photograph, large, framed, ringed with white lilies. I frowned. "See? No." Then my father's voice came through the speaker, flat and heavy. "She was always a troubled girl, but we loved her. We did everything we could." My vision blurred. He was reading a eulogy. My eulogy. "Though she left this world far too young, we pray her soul finally finds peace." I stared, stunned. I was alive, standing in my kitchen, coffee growing cold yet watching my own funeral. I scrubbed back the timeline, played it again, and again. Their faces didn't crack, their voices didn't falter. It was all so smooth, so rehearsed. I gripped the counter, my hands trembled. "What the hell is going on?" I whispered. I hadn't spoken to them in years, not since they cut me off, disowned me, made me a shameful secret they wanted to forget. But this was something else. A funeral, for someone still breathing. The deeper I watched, the colder I felt. My mother spoke of my tragic accident. There was no accident. My father said I'd spent my final years in seclusion. I wasn't secluded. I was surviving, working, living. They knew that. So why? Why do this? I sank onto a chair, the phone still in my hand as the video rolled on. It ended with a slow pan across the pews. Mourners filled the rows, distant relatives, old family friends, even my childhood piano teacher. Everyone was there, dressed in black, grieving someone who hadn't died. And not one of them had reached out, not a single call, not a question, not a doubt. I watched it again just to be sure, but the truth was undeniable. They hadn't just written me off. They'd buried me alive. And this wasn't some terrible misunderstanding. It was deliberate. There was a time years ago when I believed in family, in safety, in unconditional love. That illusion died 3 years ago. The day I was thrown out of my own life like garbage. Not because of what I did, because of what Elena did. My younger sister, the golden child, the one who walked on water and never got her hands dirty. She stole nearly $80,000 from our family's business account, blew it on designer clothes, hotel rooms, and debt she wouldn't admit existed. When the books didn't balance, they needed someone to blame. That someone was me. I'll never forget what my mother whispered in the kitchen. "Better one ruined daughter than two." And my father, eyes averted, said coldly, "You humiliated us. You're no longer our daughter." The next morning, I was gone. No warning, no money, just silence. I tried to reach them. I begged, called, wrote letters. Blocked, ignored, vanished. Even close family friends turned away. Doors that had always been open slammed shut. I became a ghost. Eventually, I left, moved abroad, found a job in a quiet cafe, changed my number, stopped posting, stopped sharing, learned to disappear. But some small, desperate part of me still hoped. Hoped they'd call, write, say they were sorry. That day never came. Instead, something worse did. Last year, I tried to recover my old email. Support told me the account had been deactivated, flagged due to a reported death. A reported death, my death. Digitally, I no longer existed. They hadn't just disowned me. They'd erased me. I didn't sleep that night, couldn't. The video haunted me. Parents composed lies, The mourners nodding heads, my face surrounded by flowers. A funeral without a corpse. Something was wrong. So I started digging. The first person I called was Aunt Rachel, my mother's older sister. We hadn't spoken in years, but she'd always slipped me candy at reunions when no one was looking. She answered on the second ring. Hello. I took a breath. Aunt Rachel, it's me, it's Maya. Silence, then click. She hung up. I called again, blocked. Next, I tried my cousins. One replied with a thumbs up emoji and vanished. Another asked, is this some kind of sick joke? No one believed it was really me. Except one. Sam, my youngest cousin, the only one who ever truly saw me. He used to follow me around like a shadow when we were kids. His reply came in slowly, like he was afraid the words might summon ghosts. Maya, are you really alive? Yes, I need to know the truth. What did they tell everyone? The typing bubble blinked, and blinked, and blinked. Then, they said you died, in a car crash, overseas, 3 years ago. My blood turned to ice. They had a full narrative. Said it happened while I was traveling, that it was too late to bring my body home. Cremation, closed casket. I nearly dropped my phone. There had never been a car crash. I never even owned a car during my time abroad. Something inside me cracked wide open. I pulled out everything: passport stamps, lease agreements, work permits, a paper trail proving I was alive, present, accounted for, never missing, never gone. Then I checked the Public Records Office. And there it was. My.Ua, date of death, July 16th, cause, road accident, status, deceased, certificated, ARF 91327. They didn't just disown me. They forged my death. I stared at the screen, my breath shallow. This wasn't grief. This wasn't denial. This was a cover-up. But what had they done? They gained that made burying me the better option. I should have stopped there, but once you learn your family faked your death, there's no going back. I started digging. And I found the answer somewhere I hadn't looked in years. Elena's Instagram. She'd gone public again. The feed was a glittering mess of curated perfection: white roses, champagne towers, choreographed dances, and a diamond the size of a toddler's feast. Elena's wedding. Everyone was there. Aunt Rachel, smiling like she hadn't just hung up on me. My cousins, clinking flutes of champagne. Even great-uncle Theo, who hadn't flown anywhere since 1997. But not me. Not even a memory. Not a photo, not a caption, not a "wish I could have been here." I was gone. Erased. And then I saw it. One photo, taken during a toast. Elena's husband stood with a glass raised, beaming. And next to him, my father. Microphone in hand, smiling. Under the caption, "To the one daughter who always made us proud." There it was. The switch. Not forgotten, replaced. I dug deeper, clicked into the state's business registry, and there, buried in legal jargon, was the final nail in my coffin. The trust fund my grandparents left for me.College, startup capital. My entire future had been transferred to Elena. 6 months after I died. Legal, quiet, clean. She didn't grieve. She cashed in. I stared at her smiling face in the wedding photo, white dress gleaming, eyes radiant. And I realized something I should have seen long ago. My sister didn't just take my place. She raised me to make room. That was it. If they wanted me dead, they were about to see just how alive I really was. The next morning, I walked into a law office with a stack of documents and a heart on fire. Proof, concrete, inarguable. Passport stamps, rental contracts, tax returns, employment records. Alive. The young attorney across the desk flipped through the papers, eyes wide. You're challenging your own death. I slid the forged certificate toward him like it was a weapon. I'm not dead, I said, but I plan to haunt them. He stared, blinked, then nodded slowly. Okay, we'll file a fraud complaint and a motion to revoke the death declaration. It'll take time, but I don't have time. I cut in. Why not? I met his eyes. Because apparently, I have a memorial this Sunday. He frowned. See. Earlier that day, a message had arrived from an unknown number. They're holding a memorial for you next Sunday, at St. Albans. No name, no context. But I knew the place, I knew the game. And I knew exactly what I was going to do. That night, I stood at my window, watching the city glow like embers waiting for a spark. They thought they could kill me in silence. But now, I had an audience. Let them cry, let them whisper, let them remember a girl they thought they buried. Because when the curtain lifts, they'd remember me for real. St. Albans had never been so full. Cars choked the street, mourners spilled through the church doors, draped in black, hushed and reverent. Their grief was practiced, social, spectacle. I watched from across the street. Black coat, dark glasses, a scene. It felt like watching a movie about a life I once lived. Inside, the show began. The organ's slow dirge echoed. Candles flickered beneath my foot, one from the obituary, the one I used to like, before it became a tombstone. My father took the pulpit. His voice was low, even. She was troubled, but we loved her. She lost her way, and though we couldn't reach her, we never stopped praying she'd come back to us. My mother wept in the front row, handkerchief pressed to her cheek, trembling just right. And Elena. She clutched her pearls like they were the only thing keeping her heart from falling out of her chest. She stepped forward, voice shaking. My sister Maya was complicated, she began, but she was mine. I wish I could have said goodbye. Eli wrapped in a tear, tied with a bow. I stepped closer to the door, just enough to hear it. The priest raised his hand solemnly. May she rest in peace? I exhaled slowly. Not yet. The show is still playing, but the lead hand entered. Let us now stand for a moment of silence. The priest intoned his voice, the final curtain call. Everyone rose, heads bowed, eyes closed, hands folded like polite little gravestones. And in that breathless pause, I pushed open the doors. The sound cut through the hush like a blade. Two heavy oak doors groaning open, like a tomb cracking down the middle. Cold light poured in, flooding the aisle like a spotlight, and I stepped into it. Click, click, click. Each heel strike on marble, sharp and deliberate. The silence buckled. Gasps. Whispers blooming like wildfire. Is that? No, it can't be. A child's voice, clear and curious. Mom, isn't that her? I pulled off my sunglasses. Eyes met mine. Wide, terrified, disbelieving. My mother's face drained of color. Her lips parted in a trembling gasp. Then she dropped, theatrically, like a puppet with cut strings. My father's wine glass slipped from his hand. Shatter. Red pooled on the marble like blood. And Elena, she stared at me, frowning. Pearls twisted between her fingers until they snapped apart. Champagne splashed across her perfect white shoes. The priest stepped back, stunned. I kept walking. Every eye tracked me like I was an apparition. Or just as. And maybe I was both. I said nothing. I didn't have to. My presence was the reckoning. The thunder after the storm of lies. When I reached the front, the whole room held its breath. I turned, slowly, faced the crowd, and smiled. Let the truth begin. I stood beneath my own portrait. The one from the obituary. The one they used to bury me. I cleared my throat. I heard I died, but I'm here to correct the story. A ripple. No one moved. Some still held phones but forgot how to use them. There was no accident. No tragic car crash overseas. No closed casket because the body was unrecognizable. I reached into my coat and pulled out the folder. Official, heavy, stamped in bureaucratic ink and international time zones. These are my passport stamps, my employment records, tax filings, apartment leases. I've been alive. I've been working. I've been surviving. The only thing I lost was them. I looked at my parents. They told the world I died, faked the paperwork, filed a certificate. And once I was gone, I turned to Elena. They gave her everything. My trust, my inheritance, my life. She opened her mouth, a protest forming. I didn't let her. Don't enjoy the house you bought with my money. Murmurs rippled behind me. A storm gathering. She's got proof. Oh my God. And 10. A phone lifted. Red dot blinking. Good. Let the world see what a real resurrection looks like. You didn't lose a daughter, I said, looking straight at my father. You buried her alive. And now, you get to watch her walk back in. The lie smoldered in the silence. And I struck the final match. You buried me to protect yourselves. But I came back to haunt you. With the truth, I turned. One last time. My father ashen. My mother still trembling. Elena hollow. No pearls left to clutch. Then I walked out. And the bells rang. A funeral bell. But not for me. Montage. The lawyer flipped through the documents. I signed the last page. Watched the forged death certificate get torn in half. Legal resurrection. Complete. An investigation opened? Fraud. False reporting. Embezzlement. Let them lie their way out of this. Voiceover. Calm. Resolved. Sometimes, you have to die in their world, to be reborn in your own. And this time, I wasn't coming back for forgiveness. I was coming back for freedom.